Welcome back, everyone. It is a beautiful hot summer day here in eastern North Carolina. Nope, I don't live in eastern North Carolina anymore. Here in eastern Pennsylvania. And we're going to do a test today. We're going to try something out that I've never done, that a lot of people talk about. And yeah, it's hard to explain, but I've just got to explain it. But let's do it after the intro. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Let's start this off by explaining first that I am not the PFD police, but I'm pretty close. Like, if I see you paddling without a PFD, I'm not going to say anything to you, but I'm going to, in my head, be disdaining you. There is no reason to not wear a PFD. If your argument is that it's uncomfortable, it's because you haven't found a good PFD that fits you well. Find a PFD that fits you well. You should absolutely be wearing a PFD every time you go paddle. And that's backed up by tons of data. 80+% of people who die kayaking aren't wearing a PFD. However, I will say, of that 80% that die not wearing a PFD, frequently there is a PFD in the boat or on the boat. And I hear from people all the time, well, it's uncomfortable, it's hot, so if I need it, I'll put it on. And I've heard tell of a Canadian Coast Guard video that shows people jumping off a pier without a PFD with one in their hand, trying to put it on, and it's really hard to do. I've never actually been able to find that video. So I'm gonna roll out of my boat without a PFD, grab a PFD from under the bungees, and see how hard it is to put it on. Even if it's easy, that doesn't mean that you should not wear a PFD. You should totally be wearing a PFD. But let's see how hard that really is to do. However, I'm not going to do it with this PFD. This is an over-the-head PFD, which would be really hard to do. I'm going to do it with a very basic 3-buckle, like the easiest PFD in the world to put on. So let's get on the water. Let's get out of this, and let's see how hard it is to put on a PFD floating next to your boat in near perfect conditions. A PFD that's really easy to put on. Yeah, this should be interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna take this off and I'm gonna paddle out there without a PFD on and without a spray skirt on. I'm going to put the PFD under my back bungees. I will say a lot of people that don't wear their PFDs do this with one of two things with them. They put them under the bungees, or they sit on them because they're comfortable. Both of these things are really bad for PFDs. Putting a PFD under your bungees, the bungees will break up the flotation and dramatically shorten the life of the PFD, as will sitting on it. I couldn't sit on it in this boat. There's not enough deck height. I'd be sitting way too high in the boat. Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. Don't do that. Wear your PFD, and then you don't have to worry about it. But for now, I'm going to put this PFD on to make sure it fits me, and then I'm going to put it under the bungees like I just told you not to do. Okay, amazingly, this fits me with very little adjustments needed. I'm going to make these a little bit tighter. Okay, let's go. Oh, this just feels weird. spray skirt feels very weird, as does no PFD. I just don't feel connected to the boat. Okay, so I'm just going to turn into the wind, flip the boat, wet exit without a spray skirt. I might have to readjust this camera. I just went to fix my glasses. Reach up here, grab my PFD while holding onto the boat, put on the PFD, re-enter the boat. At least the water's warm. Oh, audio is not going to be great for a while because the microphone's filled with water, and it takes a while for them to drain and then dry out enough that audio sounds good. So audio might get sketchy. See ya. Okay, that wasn't horrible, but it wasn't easy. And now I gotta re-enter. This, as you can see, is floating up a little bit. Let me see if I can make it tighter. Okay, well, that worked, but it really wasn't easy. I definitely was fighting with that. I'll also add that instead of having to just keep track of the boat, the paddle, and that's it, and deal with self-rescue, I had to deal with the boat, the paddle, while fighting with a PFD. It was not easy. I definitely let go of the paddle, which is nightmarish. I don't generally do that when I'm self-rescuing. It was way harder, like in general, when I'm dealing with like a paddle float reentry, I would put a foot inside the cockpit to hold on to the boat. I couldn't do that because I wasn't floating. So it makes self-rescues way harder, and you're starting them after being tired, after fighting with your PFD. And so I don't recommend that by any stretch. I'll also add, I'm in not near perfect conditions, perfect conditions. A little bit of a breeze pushing me inshore, flat water, which is not when you need to do a self-rescue. It's going to be cold, it's going to be windy, the water's going to be active. And so in perfect conditions, that was a chore. So find a PFD that fits you, wear your PFD. I wear a PFD every time I paddle, even when it's 90 degrees like it is right now, and it's totally doable. And in a worst case scenario, you get yourself wet. I'll get my hat wet, I'll do a roll, whatever. Absolutely not a big deal to find a PFD that works for you. So I do not condone doing what I just did. If you want to try it out, do it when the conditions are perfect in a controlled environment like this. Wear a PFD when you're paddling. There you go. I enjoyed this, but I'm exhausted. That was tiring. I haven't done a cowboy reentry in 2 years. I used to be good about practicing self-rescues at the beginning of the season and the end of the season, so they were always solid. And I've totally slacked off on that for a lot of reasons, but I've totally slacked off on that. So I need to make sure that's a thing. I have a student that wants to do self-rescues, so I'll get to do them then. So did a cowboy rescue, which is not my favorite, but it's relatively quick, and I got in the first time, which is not always the case. But yeah, worked fine. Yeah. Okay. If you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed this, it was super fun, and it was really nice swimming on a really hot day. Hit like, hit subscribe. My books are on Amazon in paperback and coffee in electronic form. Gear list is there, Guides Way is there, risk management stuff is there, float plan is there, all that stuff is there. I'm right here, and I'll see you here in a week. Okay, see ya.